Hello and welcome to Movie Watch Live with me, Pete Mack, and my guests as usual, which are Karl Hungus and Aldous Huxley. And tonight we're going to be watching a classic, probably the most famous sword and sorcery film ever made, the legendary cult classic from 1982, Conan the Barbarian, starring an unknown young actor at the time in his debut leading role, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and starring two other actors, world famous in their own right, Max von Sydow and James Earl Jones, the voice of Darth Vader. And my guests tonight, first of all, Karl. Good evening, Karl.
Good evening, Pete. Thanks for having us again. Tonight's going to be a great night. This is my absolute favorite sword and sorcery movie. From the thematic music to the fights to the action to just the story. It's a fantastic. It's a roller coaster ride from the beginning to the end.
It is.
And we're in for a treat. I mean, this is without a doubt in my opinion at least, it is the Citizen Kane of sword and sorcery movies.
Yeah,
you're not going to find a better one.
Definitely. Absolutely, totally agree with you, Karl. Hello, Hux.
How are we doing, gentlemen?
Not so bad.
Doing great.
So, any thoughts about the movie tonight, Huxley?
I'm just really excited. It's a really great movie, and one of the really cool things about it is it really fractures the traditional hero's journey, but it works in such a great way, and it contrasts so well to the last two films we watched with Dragon Slayer and Crawl, and how the story is both managed by the director and the film editing team, and how the story progresses around the character. So it's going to be a fun one, gentlemen. I'm looking forward to it.
Excellent.
Just to hit on your point real quick, Hux, I mean, this is one of those examples of where they do turn the hero's journey or other tropes and themes on their head, and they do it right. This is a master class in how to do that correctly without screwing up the story. Because I mean, the story of the Conan the Barbarian, the film, has not much to do with Conan the Barbarian, the books. It's all taken from. It's Cull's story. It's not Conan's story. Another Robert E. Howard sword and sorcery kind of book from the 30s. But they, despite it not being the story for this character, they somehow made it into something special, and they made that turning that whole theme on its head into something that works. So I'm looking forward to it, and I hope everyone is paying attention tonight because it's going to be good stuff.
Yeah, and we're going to do our best with this because it is one of the best films in this genre ever made, but because it's so well made, it's non-stop action. So we'll be commentating on what's happening, but also we'll be trying to put in there our analysis. So sometimes, we might have a lot to say because there is an awful lot to unpack in this film. So without further ado, if everybody gets ready with your movie, whether it's a DVD or whether you're going to watch it on live stream, whichever way you're going to do this, we'll have a countdown from 3 down to 1, and then I'll say go. And when I say go, if you're just ready to start your movie. So ready? If I just say 3, 2, 1, go.
All right, there we are.
There we are. So I'm seeing the 20th Century Fox.
I'm at the FBI warning not to pirate the movie.
What have you got, Hooks? I think Hooks has dipped out.
All right, so you're a few seconds ahead. I'm at the Universal.
I'll pause until because at the first scene after the studio intro is the quote from Friedrich Nietzsche. Which is that which does not kill us makes us stronger.
Pause it there, and I'll tell you when to unpause.
Yep.
Black screen right now, and we're still doing intros. My goodness. That's what I get for going Amazon Prime.
You guys got me again?
Yeah.
Hello there, Hooks. Yeah, I'm just ready at the Friedrich Nietzsche quote here. So if you're ready,
we're just on the fade out Universal splash. There we go.
All right, I'm there too. Unpause.
Yeah, cool. So here we have that quote.
And that is kind of a general theme for the movie. If you watch what happens to Conan, it's a very encapsulating, just general one-liner for what the theme of Conan is, his journey.
Yeah.
And note the fact that this was produced by Dina De Laurentiis, who produced our last movie, Krull.
Indeed. Now, you're going to hear the score by Basil Polidorus, who did work with the director Milius previously. And even more importantly, we're hearing the prologue.
So the prologue here, it's saying the time for us between the time the seas drank Atlantis and the rise of the sons of Arius, which is basically from the time of Atlantis 25,000 years ago to the beginning of recorded history, about 5,000 years.
Right.
So somewhere in there is the Hyborian age, the age in which Howard set his books, or the Conan books, because he didn't want to make up weird history. Here, there's too much here. Now they're casting the sword. And
here we have, so the sword's being, this is casting. It's not forging, is it?
Casting steel was possible, but the problem is that you couldn't get it hot enough to do what they're trying to do here, and they have it in the snow. Usually what you do is you'd cast an ingot and you'd forge the sword out from there. You wouldn't just cast the main shape and then, well, they're forging here too, so it is what it is.
Bit of movie trivia about the snow.
Right.
Not the most interesting subject, but apparently the setting for this, the village was set, the Cimmerian village was built in the forest in the Valsean ski resort just south of Segovia in Spain. About 1 million pesetas worth of marble shavings were scattered all around to give it the snow effect. So that's marble shavings you're looking at when you see the snow. Can you believe it? Cool. So this score by Basil Polidorus, what the director wanted to go for, he wanted an original score. And one of the most interesting things about it is it uses something called MuseSync, which was the very first time they started using software, computer software and hardware to synchronize the music tempo with the action on the screen. So the composer could quite simply, speed up or slow down the music so it hit the point when things were happening in the film, which is the first time this did this. It got an award for technology.
So like if there was a profound moment that you'd have a drum beat in the background the moment something crazy was happening. Okay,
that's it.
Got it.
Yeah.
So this is what I would not do is quench my blade in snowdrift. That'll fracture your blade and all that. Now that he's doing some detail work on it, I could get a little word in on this. Casting steel was possible in certain parts of the ancient world, it's particularly in India. So you've got to remember the Sumerian tribes here are the descendants in Howard's world of the ancient Atlanteans. Yeah. And so what they're using, the techniques they're using, we're to assume, because this is his ancient world, that this is some leftover ancient Atlantean techniques and technology, which is why Tulsa Doom's wandering the world trying to find people that know how to do this.
Yeah.
And if you just they just passed the script credits, you'll notice that John Milius, the director, is also credited with Oliver Stone. And this went through multiple revisions. And Oliver Stone's initial revision had it set in a post-apocalyptic world.
Yeah.
And
check this part out here. This is where they're talking about one of the main themes, the Riddle of Steel. Now let's listen to this for a moment. Let's talk about Crom and the Riddle of Steel. So Crom kind of took the secret of steel, like Prometheus took the secret of fire from the Greek gods.
There's also like because one of the big influences on Milius was Wagner's Siegfried. So like he considered this to be like an opera without songs. So there's a strong sort of Siegfried theme. And the idea in that opera is that you've got the gods, you've got the giants, and you've got men. And so the giants warred with the gods, and then men came afterwards, and this is all packed into the story that Conan's father's telling them here.
Right. And this is probably the most disappointing special effect in the entire movie. With it's low grade blue screen, and the motion you can kind of tell it's not that great. But even then, that's the worst that it is.
Yeah. Look at that. You have the snakes with the black sun. A lot of symbolism with the snakes and the black sun. The black sun was a
and watch out for the Pict character here, who I think is one of the best costumes and designs in the film, who comes and jumps onto the boulder. And did you Hooks? Did you have you had like an observation about him when he appears? Is it?
Just that he's feral. I mean, I'm not quite at the scene. I might be a little behind or something here, but so they're riding up right now, and the first time you see him, he kind of climbs up on a rock, and his whole behavior is very feral. He kind of sniffs the air.
Well, I'm still at the point where they're riding through the forest towards the village.
So we're
all about the same. Yeah, I'm jumping ahead of myself. Here we go.
Yeah, here's your boy depict. The little ginger bastard in the ears. Huh?
You can,
and he just kind of sits up and then kind of sniffs the air and kind of has a little bit of a.
It looks like the kind of fella you'd see on a Friday night. And
look at that shot right there with the sun behind him and everything. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really good, that scene. Now, so at this point, the young Conan is hiding away there, just out of the way, played by George Sands, just to keep out of the way.
Sumerians realize they're under attack.
Yep.
And one thing I like about what the prop department did was they kind of incorporated all the symbols of the snake cult into the weapons and armor of these guys.
Yeah.
Like there's gotta forget, is that Rexar, I think, with the snakes on his helmet? They're all using the weapons they should be. The tribes people are using spears and axes. It's good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Love it. So you said this was in northern Spain?
Yeah, the whole film was it was all filmed in Spain, location-wise. Originally, they'd planned to film it in Yugoslavia, but interestingly, well, it was 1980 and 81 they started filming it, but they had to abandon those plans because Tito, the ruler of Yugoslavia, had recently died, so Yugoslavia was a bit unstable. So they moved everything to Spain.
So that's the one thing that bugs me is Thorgrim's hammer here.
Yeah,
that's just so big you wouldn't want to be using that from a horse, and it's so
oversized. I think that's one of the things in the film. There's several weapons which are oversized. And
the original Atlantean sword is something like 7 or 8 pounds, which is impractical for actual use. They even make reproductions of those, and the dimensions on the width of the blade on that Atlantean sword is about 3 inches. So that thing's overbuilt. I think they did that for the purpose of giving it its own presence in the film.
Yeah. So here we see Conan's father's just been hit from behind, and now the war dogs have gone in and they're ripping him apart.
Previous to that, Conan's father had done pretty well, holding his own against several of them, and he's singled out. And they said, "Get that one first." And it's kind of again this little bit of a theme here that the strong are singled out by Doom and made an example of, and then also very thematic that he is ripped apart by dogs later on in the story.
Look at these guys that are part of these set guys. I mean, they look like they're from all over the world. There's a guy in the back that looks like he has more Middle Eastern features and such. So it's almost gives you the impression that Tulsa is going around the world just collecting people of like mind.
Yeah, this is absolutely. So it's like, which draws into that whole mythos. This is the two generals of Tulsa Doom. So you've got Thorgrim and Rexor. Thorgrim's played by Sven-Ole Thorsen, who appeared in other films. Conan the Destroyer, he played a different character. He was in The Running Man with Schwarzenegger. And you've got Rexor's played by Ben Davidson, who was a pro footballer in the NFL and the AFL. And he's the one holding the sword right now.
Yeah, Sven Olsen also, for any child of the 80s that was a Captain Power fan, he was Tank.
And the actress playing, and here we see for the first time James Earl Jones. The actress playing Conan's mother, Nadiuska, was a well-known model in the day, so she was picked for her, not only she could act well, but also, for her appearance. And this is a bit where the character of Tulsa Doom uses this form of magic that he has, this with his eyes.
And everything here is being conveyed by the music and the actor's facial expressions. Not a word has been said in this movie yet.
And other than the Riddle of Steel speech.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah. That's true. But the important thing here too is this is Thulsa Doom, played by James Earl Jones.
Yeah.
And Thulsa Doom is actually from a Kull book. The name does not appear in any of the Conan stories. So this is the first time you're starting to see the meshing of the Kull and the Conan into the movie that we have before us here.
That is a glorious mullet, though, I got to say.
And I think this feeds into the whole idea that this is an opera, that this can be done without a lot of dialogue. And here's the tragic moment for the young Conan. And here you have the choral music in the background. The music is just absolutely perfect. And the child looks at his empty hand. And that's mirrored later on, almost at the end of the film, the famous scene where Conan practices his swordplay for the final battle. He looks at his hand again. So that scene there is mirrored at the end of the film.
Then there was actually going to be more with that. The scene was going to be very gruesome with Conan's mother being beheaded and blood pouring out.
Yeah,
and it didn't work. So they cut it this way, and very similar to the experience with Jaws, where the shark didn't work, so they don't show the shark.
Yeah,
it's actually better not showing it because it's more powerful. Because now instead we get that shot that Pete's just talking about there with Conan staring at his hand.
Yep.
And this kind of beautiful moment that Conan shares. He's now orphaned, and he shares. He's looking up at Doom with the snakes, Harold.
Yeah. So and again, this scene here, where, and again we're getting another narration by Mako, who's keeping us really on point with what's going on. So the tribe is wiped out. They head south, the troops of Tulsa Doom, whereas the children are enslaved and taken north.
Yeah, and this is the next callback to the Kull Conan conflict that goes on throughout this movie. This is essentially Kull's backstory that we're watching. It's not Conan's.
Right. Conan took up the sword at the age of 15 and wandered the world, not as a slave. But this is still cool. I mean, look at these movement scenes or these travel scenes. They're showing different terrain as if we're actually moving, not spending 15 minutes on a single shot of a guy climbing a mountain.
Right. And if you contrast that with both Crawl and Dragon Slayer, you'll notice throughout this movie, anytime you have a travel sequence, it'll be shortcuts. So like right now, it's just a little bit of a meandering shot, and then it'll cut to a different shot, and then it'll cut to a different shot. So it gives the impression of motion and travel and time passing instead of that long, drung-out shot like we talked about last week in Crawl.
And
we're introduced here. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, again, that music, the perfect sound for that music at the exact right time.
Absolutely.
The moment you start hearing that high-pitched screeching noise in the background.
And you hear that methodical music before you see the Wheel of Pain, and that leads us on and it's perfectly written, that melody. to give us. And then here we use montage again for the passage of time. There's no time wasted in this film at all. Excellent script writing.
And even with the little bit of a long exposition shot where we were coming up to this, the purpose of that was to slowly bring this place that's going to be what molds Conan's body into view.
Yeah.
And so,
so now we've got the montage of the Wheel of Pain being rotated, and now we've had the villain introduced, we've had the hero introduced.
Yeah.
The hero has been isolated, and now he is facing a kind of a montage of growth, if you will.
Yeah.
So within 5
we already can see
the hero's journey.
Right, we already see this far in the hero's journey. The traditional framing has already been kind of shattered.
Yeah.
So it's a very it continues. It only continues to get more interesting.
Yeah, and also notice as well on the detail on the wheel at the top. You've got very Viking-looking carvings on the side there, and there's a very young and determined Arnold Schwarzenegger there, and. So, the Emilius and the art directors were keen to show a world which had Mongol influences, Viking influences, to make it credible, but also make it look like an ancient world, which was a primeval and pagan.
Right. Yeah. Howard drew a lot from historical references for the motifs he used in some of the cultures that he made during the Hyborian Age. Like these guys right here, they're called the Vanir, which is one of his. He has a couple analogs for Proto-Norse culture, and this is one of them.
Yeah, because the Vanir are like. Sorry, go ahead.
He's got some very impractical ringmail armor on right there with lots of nice large gaps for arrows and blades.
And daggers and things. But yeah, that's interesting because the Cimmerians are supposed to be like based upon the Gaelic peoples, aren't they? And
Howard's The Hyborian Age, it was an essay he wrote in the 30s. He expressly stated that the Cimmerians were supposed to be Proto-Celts, of Western European Proto-Celts. So we're talking Gaels, we're talking Scots, Irish, and people that settled along there. Maybe.
I mean, that would include like the Spanish as well, wouldn't it? And
he was very specific in saying the Gaels, but it would include some Spanish, northern Spain.
Yeah.
So now we have again to mirror the call theme. He's gone from being a slave to now he's being entered into the gladiatorial pits.
So this is the next phase in his journey.
Right, and now also to tie that into the hero's journey, here is he's going to be thrown in and have to learn how to fight.
Right, he has no idea how to fight. He's just big and strong. So the that armored kind of armor the dude has on is pretty typical of like a Roman gladiator style armor. There was 150 different types of Roman gladiators. They all had special names. I can't remember which one exactly used something like that. But it looks pretty much like how it should.
Yeah, because I think one of the things, Cobb was the creative director, and he was trying to deliberately avoid because there was a genre before sword and sorcery, which was sword and sandal in the 1960s. You had spaghetti westerns, but you had sword and sandal films being produced in Italy in the 60s. So they were deliberately trying to avoid copying that and just replicating that. So they tried to avoid the classic Greco-Roman imagery, and that. So, but this, there's things you can't get away from. So gladiatorial stuff, you're gonna end up having some stuff which is similar.
Well, I like it. It shows a little continuity.
I mean, some of this stuff here is quite interesting. When he wears this, it's like a nail glove there or something.
That glove, that's also reminiscent of what was called a cestus, Cestus.
Right.
That's a type of Roman gladiatorial weapon as well.
So that was a real weapon.
Like yeah, it was. Not so sure.
The Fang helmet, I like that.
Yeah, these they're
Teeth
cool.
Well, the narration here is important too, because up to this point, Conan is, he went from a child just pushing a wheel. So now he's starting to get a sense of worth, that he is somebody. He can do something. He's got a taste of power and accomplishment. And he's good at what he does.
Right. And we're seeing the symbol of the wheel there on that standard. He also wears that as a necklace as well. I think that's an ancient symbol. But yeah, for me, that was, the idea that he's getting a self-worth from being like that just shows the kind of oblivion he was living in beforehand. And this is where he's taken to the east, where he learns from the master teachers in warfare and martial arts. So this is where it brings in more of a Japanese feel now, and this is very much like a katana. I mean, in this period, Carl, would you have anything like that kind of weapon?
No, the katana it derived from the tachi, which was used in the 12 to 1300s in medieval Japan. But the katana was more the Edo period and a little. Which is 19 or early 1800s to like 1600s.
Well, this whole sequence in the East too is important, because without this, Conan would just be a Gary Stew that comes out of nowhere, from being a slave to being able to speak, to be able to read, to have knowledge. And now we're at a point where we're showing you where all this came from. He was specifically trained in sword fighting by sword masters. He was taught to read and given philosophy. Right.
So he avoids the Mary Sue trope. And you can understand why he's actually intelligent. They educated him.
Right. And it's so simple, and it's so well done here, and just how it's weaved right in, that there really is no excuse for anyone out there when you're framing your story. Just put something like this in. Just give a simple explanation and a little bit of time passage so that it makes sense. And it can work. It's not hard.
Yep. It's a 2 or 3 minute scene, and it does everything The Last Jedi did not. Or Force Awakens did not.
Well, exactly. This movie is a good example on how to edit correctly. 3D Robin in the chat there.
Hey, 3D Robin.
Thanks for turning up, 3D Robin.
Ooh, check that out in the background. There are some legit medieval pole arms back there.
Yeah,
it looks like a grand sewer in the back. That looks like there's actually a glaive back there, a real legitimate glaive.
A real glaive. We'll have to tell the makers of Krull. There's a little bit of trivia here. All three main actors in the film were given actual martial arts training, tutored by Kiyoshi Yamakaze, a karate black belt and master swordsman. And he drilled them in sword fighting styles to make them look proficient in the use of the weapons. Right. Here's the famous line.
Well, this sequence is very important. I've got a few comments on it after he gives the line,
which comes from Genghis Khan.
And he's dressed just like a Mongol would have in the period. That's absolutely authentic armor for a 13th century Mongol.
I'm gonna do a quick impersonation of that. To crush your enemies, to see them driven before you, to hear the lamentation of the women.
Well, that is also it's speaking to what's going to happen. It's speaking to what has happened, and it's very reminiscent of Alexander Nevsky's "The strength of a sword is measured by the arm that wields it," which also plays in to a general theme of this movie. So there's a lot of foreshadowing going on, very subtly, in what's being said throughout here.
Little things being laid down for later on. This is a bit where Conan is now released, and the statement is he was considered to be like a wild animal. He needed to be set free. What do you think? I mean, both Carl and Aldous, what do you think about that idea?
Yeah, absolutely. Just like the dog that follows you home that you can't keep, and for its best interest, you got to let it go.
Mm.
Well, I think too, it's he just sat before a leader, the Khan of that area, and his leading general misspoke, and the Khan says wrong. And so now you have Conan also. He's risen above even the king's son in his ability, in his knowledge. And here we have a great throwback. He's being chased by wild dogs. And remember, he remembers his father was torn apart by wild dogs.
Yeah, that's a good connection. As well, I think, as soon as he gets his freedom, he's having to fend for himself completely now. There's no one else there, just him. And
this is actually also, this whole scene actually is in a Conan book. It is in The Thing in the Crypt, which was Elsprague de Camp and Lynn Carter. So it's not a traditional Howard book, but this whole sequence of being chased by the dogs and falling into a tomb was is ripped right out of an actual Conan book. And this is the first scene in the movie that is taken from a Conan book, and it's not even a Howard Conan book.
I mean, the sort of the idea I get from this is that it's a sequence of death and rebirth. So he falls into the tomb. It's like he's in the underworld. With all of the fallen heroes of the past, but then of course he's reborn again when he comes out of the cave. So the idea, the theme, I think, when I look at this, is the concept of death, journey through the underworld, rebirth, but also we're going to see the sword as well. This king, this fallen king, which is maybe a representation of what he will become as well. So something prophetic there as well.
Well, it is. It's foreshadowing him because this is an Atlantean king from ages past, and the Sumerians are Atlantean descendants, even though they don't know it. And so it kind of is a foreshadowing of him.
And then this also is the next step in the journey. He is now, he kind of had, there's a little bit of mentoring that went on with the red-haired Veneer, right? I mean, he trained him, threw him into combat, took care of him, and then he released him. So there's a little bit of a mentor there, just a shred. This is important, though. This is the acquirement of the iconic weapon, the hero's weapon, and kind of that throwback to the hero trope that a hero needs a sword. So we're going to get that weapon. So this is the Excalibur. This is the glaive. This is the spear. I
want that axe. That axe looks cool.
But it's slightly different to Excalibur, I think, because although this blade is supposed to be super strong, it's also, as we learn later in the film, it's also about the character of the person that wields the weapon, which I suppose isn't that different from Excalibur, because we saw when we watched Excalibur a couple of weeks ago that Arthur misused it and broke the blade.
Well, and I thought the scene's coming up, and I'm going to wait for it. I'd like Carl to just kind of, because he had a great concept about the essence going into a weapon and carrying with the weapon.
Yeah, so this is a magical sword, we're to believe, because it's an Atlantean sword, a sword from ages past that was forged with an unknown technology that his father came close to replicating, but never quite perfected. And so the sword is almost talismanic. It's almost like the sword is imbued with the essence of its wielder.
Yeah.
And so as you see the shot to the king, the skeleton, it's kind of like he's passing the sword on to Conan. And as you see when he nods his head forward, that it's almost like a passing of the torch.
And what do you think about this? Because he looks at the skeletal remains and says Crom. Is that, because to me that I think that's sort of saying
that is the first spoken word by Arnold in the movie.
Yeah. It's sort of saying the steel has remained, but the flesh has perished. So there's this sort of interplay between what is stronger, flesh or steel.
And rust doesn't really work that way, but
I assumed it was the scabbard. I assumed that it was like just a leather scabbard, and he just it would rot it away, and he bangs it and it shatters.
Now, do you see his look there when he looks back at the wolves? Yeah, I'm going to get you. Now he's dressed in lovely wolf skins. I only caught that the second time I watched it. But this is an interesting scene coming up. This is where he bumps into the witch. Now, this is filmed location-wise, again in Spain, but it was deliberately chosen for its sort of weird landscape.
It looks like it's a volcanic landscape.
Yeah,
Doesn't
it was filmed in a place called Ciudad Encantada. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong. The rock formations in the province of Cuenca. And this is where we're going to see the witch played by Cassandra Garver, who was in Last Man Standing, High Road to China. She's on a cover of a Jefferson Starship album as well. So attractive lady in her day.
Good looking. I'll be right back. I gotta grab something to drink.
No worries.
All right.
So yeah.
So also we've had the that theme in the beginning, that which does not kill us makes us stronger. Conan has survived the wheel of pain.
Yeah.
And it built him strength and toughness and a high constitution.
Yeah.
Conan survives being a gladiator, where he learned his skills of a warrior and learned that he had value.
Yeah.
Right. So as we're moving on, that theme just continues. Every instance that Conan interacts, keep that in mind. That which does not kill us makes us stronger.
And this is a bit where he starts to find out about he gets the prophecy about who he is. He finds out, what his destiny is, or what lies ahead for him in the future.
This whole sequence too, if you look at the way the room is set up, it's kind of like we talked about a little bit more with Dragon Slayer than Crawl, but it has a lived-in feel. The set designers took a lot of care. It fits with what the theme and the atmosphere that they've been projecting so far.
Yeah, definitely. And of course, he has to pay a price here. It's also the idea that you have to pay a price for the things that you want. Part of the hero's journey again. You don't get anything for free.
Right.
So he has to pay a price, which is obviously the witch wants to spend the night. It's a polite way of saying it. And of course, as part of that, it gets a bit freaky towards the end.
And this actress's eyes, she is doing so much with her eyes in this scene.
Yeah, and her voice as well.
It's just so beautifully done. And again, it's just a small thing. So much is done in this movie without dialogue.
Good night, children. Get the little ones away. Not for small eyes. This is this is definitely Blue Dolphin.
Well, Conan is not subject to RBCC.
No, he's not. I mean, one of the sort of here we go. This is where the witch transforms into a pretty scary demon, actually.
Almost a succubus.
Yeah, it's pretty full on. It's
right here also we have some very, very simple effects that are done.
Yeah.
They're just really well done with the lighting and the filming.
Yeah, it is. It's so effective and yet straightforward. And there we go. Throws her in the fire.
Toss her in the fire.
And we've got a Ghostbusters moment coming up here. There we go. She's not happy.
So here again we have more of that which does not kill us makes us stronger. Not necessarily in a direct sense, but he was able to rise above his passion and rise above the temptation.
Yeah.
Well, and he found a nice warm place to sleep for the night.
Hello, Johnny Five. Just turned up in the chat.
Hey, Johnny Five. How you doing, brother?
So, yeah, it didn't really bother him that much, did it? I'll just spend the night here. She'll not be back. She'll not be back. Oh, she's left the coffee on. Great. And here he also bumps into...
last night.
So this is Super Tai, played by Jerry Lopez, whose voice was dubbed over. Now, Jerry Lopez got this job because he'd already appeared in one of Milius's previous films, and they knew each other because Jerry Lopez was actually a well-known surfer, and Milius, the director, was also a surfer as well. So they knew each other through surfing. So there you go. That's how he got the job.
Hey, you think that's why the surfing scene is in Apocalypse Now, considering Milius helped write it?
Possibly. But the name as well, Subutai, comes directly from, it was one of Genghis Khan's generals, was called Subutai. So, and you can see by looking at him, they've done him up to look like a Mongol. Or in this case, what you were saying, that particular world, he's a Hyrcanian.
Yeah, Hyrcanian. Yeah.
And also here now we have the hero is starting to gain. He has followers now, and I'm going to mention at this point because really up till now it doesn't show itself. But the triumvirate, the triple, the three, the set of three. Again, going back, it plays a lot in this. Crawl was a lot about duality and conflicting positions. This movie has a lot of themes of three in it.
What do you think of this conversation they're having? So they're talking about their different belief systems.
Yeah, Subutai is very much has that kind of Mongol flavor to him. His god is the sky, the open plains, and where Crom is a god of the earth, an unforgiving god of judgment, and so it's kind of an interesting duality. And
here we see the first sort of travel montage with the two characters together, and how easily it's done.
In the background, it's fantastic.
Right, and again, this goes back. It's a fade out, and then we see them. It's a different texture, and they're still in motion. Costuming is a little bit different, still in motion. We dissolve, different shot, still in motion. Instead of I just can't compliment this style enough because it is so refreshing after watching Kroll last week.
Now, this set here is actually a Spanish town, but very cleverly, you won't tell. But they used models of buildings and melded them in with the Spanish towns.
The art director of this was as was the director, they were very against matte paintings. So they used a lot of film trickery and models to give the impression of the backgrounds that they wanted. And it turned out excellent.
And I think the effect they're trying to go for here is the sort of the bizarre, where there's things from all across the world.
The crossroads of civilization kind of thing. Yeah, absolutely.
Now, I will say I saw this in when I was a young, I would say like 9 or 10, and for the first time. And a couple years later, I came across Fritz Lieber's Lankmar series with Fafford and the Gray Mouser.
Oh, yeah.
And man, the minute I picked that up, like my mental image was of these two walking around in these towns because it just the giant and the smaller diminutive thief.
Yeah, it's a perfect mix as well. You think about the two characters together.
Yeah, they really play off each other well.
I like this character because he knows everything, but then he just says, "I know nothing."
If you look at some of the architecture in this town, you can actually see the Spanish walls and stuff. That's very emblematic of the kind of Islamic style of architecture in southern Spain, I should say.
Right. So
when you look at the parapets and stuff, it's good.
So Subutai spoke about his gods, and his gods were the four winds, and then Crom, of course, is the god of the earth, of the mountain.
Yeah.
Well, the gentleman just said, all I know about snakes are those of Set. Well, Set's the serpent. And what does a serpent harken back to? A serpent is usually a harbinger of darkness, bad thoughts, going all the way back to Genesis. So they're playing heavy with tropes here. These two men worship elements, natural things. The Set is not a natural thing. It's a serpent. It represents something dark.
Bit of trivia here as well. He's just punched out a camel. Now, you probably know that happens as well in Conan the Destroyer. So that's just a little bit of trivia about continuity between the two films. So both the characters are now high on opium, and this is where they sort of wander their way towards the snake tower.
High on opium, and they're starting to make bad decisions.
Yeah. And
The lighting on that tower is amazing too.
yeah, these again about the set design and everything. The crew actually had a warehouse where they had all of these things built inside them. So we're just getting to the point where we're now introduced to Valeria.
There's Valeria.
And for the rest of the movie, pay attention and see if anybody says her name.
Yeah. Good point. So now we've got the barbarian, we've got the thief, and we've got the Amazon.
Well, the other thing I love, Carl, and you can tell me or not about the positions, but all three of them in that little standoff had different initial start positions for their blade.
Right,
Everyone's taking up a different posture, which to me would suggest a different technique. So it's not your standard sword movie where everybody goes into the same position. It's suggesting that they all have their own style of fighting.
It's not necessarily emblematic of technique because in sword fighting you have different guards. Like Conan was kind of in a high guard. She was kind of in a lower guard. So each guard is built to counter another guard. So you attack from each guard and you go into a new one as you're attacking. So I don't know if it's emblematic of a different style because I don't know what the styles are. We only see snippets of it.
Mm-hmm.
But it could be emblematic of just different guards being used to counter the positions of the other guy. And you'll see her do this later on when she encounters a random guard in Tulsa tower, where she switches positions a few times as the other guy switches.
Yeah, and you can see that they were definitely given proper martial training. The music in the background here is some of the best in the soundtrack. This sort of fiddle and drum, because one of the big inspirations for the composer was medieval bard music, which goes back to the idea that someone's actually telling the tale of Conan's adventures. And another point here is that this tower, they actually used an abandoned hangar in Spain, an airbase, to build the tower inside this gigantic hangar. It was a 40-foot version of the tower was built in the hangar for them to scale up and down in, and the rest of the sound stages were built in there in a warehouse in Spain.
Now, if you look in here, you see a lot of Egyptian-looking motifs, which was the Stygians were at Howard's analog for the Egyptians. So you'll notice a lot of those turquoise blues, which you find on a lot of Egyptian art.
Yeah,
namely the death mask of Tutankhamun and things like that.
Yeah. There's a lot of information about the special effects in this whole sequence. I'm going to let you two talk about it. I think Hooks has got something to say about it because there's a lot of work went into the special effects in this sequence that's coming up. But we're just seeing Conan and Subutai crawling down into the depths of the temple, whereas Valeria's trying to sort of infiltrate higher up in the temple. And this whole scene is just really atmospheric. I mean, if you're a fan of D&D, if you're a fan of role-playing games, this whole scene is just so emblematic, And there's the symbols of you're seeing Ouroboros there, the snake that swallows itself, and
lots of skulls, symbols of death, all kinds of things like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think the designers, like the designer Cobb, was, like I say, is trying to build a world which was deliberately not like the world we're used to.
Now, why she specifically needs to be in a thong to get sacrificed, I don't know, but I appreciate the direction they went with it.
Yeah.
There's our buddy Rexar, High Priest of Set, right there.
There we go. Now, And you can see the symbol of the eye in the background and the crescent moon. So you've got these repeated symbols.
Oh, yeah.
Now he's just taking the jewel. There's a lot of people who worked. Sorry, go ahead.
No, those little glints off the jewel. That's the second time that the Industrial Lights and Magic guys added a little something to this.
Nice little touches. Who also worked on Raiders of the Lost Ark, and that reminded me of that scene from Raiders of the Lost Ark. You know.
So this whole scene with the serpent, Nick Alder, who won an Oscar for Alien in 1977, he built this snake, and they had a hard time figuring out how to do it, and they ended up using cable controls. And this snake could rise up 12 feet in the air with a man on top of it and still be controlled. And it only cost him 20,000 pounds at the time. So this is a shot right here. You've got Doom in the middle with Rexar and Thorgrim. That's the first. We're going to start seeing a lot of this. Triples, threes, sets of three.
Yeah. And Conan's just, by seeing the symbol, he's just, a memory's come back to life, and he's suddenly recognized who had the connection here. And here comes the snake.
So this is a really neat little antidote here. The venom and stuff that you see coming off of the teeth is actually KY jelly that they've got a guy with like a giant plunger that he's slowly pushing it through. And then right here where Subutai shoots the arrow coming up, this is it was actually the director John Milius. He actually shot this because he was the best archer they had.
Yeah, I mean, they did spend a fortune on that snake, but it was really well done.
It looks like just a truly big snake. It really does look good.
It does. It's so well done especially for when it was made.
And here they are, oblivious to the whole thing, going on down in the pit. This is kind of not emblematic, but reminiscent or foreshadowing of the scene with Tulsa Doom, where he has a person jump off the ledge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
exactly. Starting to get a hint of what this cult's power is.
And he has the escape scene. This is another bit of humor as well here. So, this film's not afraid to mix humor with fight scenes.
Right. I don't know you. Oh, right in the hip at the pelvis. That's gotta hurt.
Right in the pancreas.
Well, I love this too. She uses him as the counterweight.
Yeah, to get up on the tower.
Now we have the three heroes are formed. The hero has his companions.
Yeah, and here's the first time she says, "Do you want to live forever?" Which is her catchphrase. And now they celebrate. As well, don't forget, all the films we've been watching over the last few weeks, the big influence in the background was Star Wars. And despite the fact that this is probably the most successful film, apart from Excalibur, but I think this was bigger than Excalibur, and how successful it was. Star Wars was still in the background, and again, the director Milius and the producers were looking to compete with Star Wars in this whole endeavor to produce something which was a heroic adventure in a made-up world, or a supernatural world which had its own mythology. So, but this time it worked because they weren't trying to copy Star Wars; they were trying to something that could compete with Star Wars in a different way, and that's why
to continue your thought there, Pete. So the tower serpent climb, where they were climbing up the outside of that serpent tower, that's from an actual Howard Conan book, The Tower of the Elephant. This character right here, Valeria, she is actually named for a character that's in the book, The Red Nails, but in that she's a pirate, in this she's a thief.
Right.
And the Wolf Witch that we were kind of introduced to is based on the book the Hour of the Dragon. So they did. Part of the reason why I think this works so well is they took actual things from existing canon of a theme and put it together into a story that works. So they built and they planned on doing these for like 10 years. They wanted to crank them out like Bond films every 2 to 3 years.
Well, I think after Schwarzenegger did this film, he was very much in demand. This really launched his career, this film.
Yeah, he did Terminator after this.
Yeah, and Commando, and then Predator, and it just went on and on from there.
He got the Terminator job because of this movie.
Yeah. So here we see the love scene between Conan and Valeria. And the soundtrack, again, it was praised for not being, saccharine romantic. It's original again. It's definitely high tea, this scene. There's no lack of tea here.
Conan gets it done. He gets it done.
He does. He's the man for the job. And enjoying a nice drink afterwards. The munchies. Hey, we got the munchies now.
Now that they're successful, they can afford to blow their money on everything.
That's it. Having a bit of KFC.
Well, again, that which does not kill us makes us stronger. So, is any of this making us stronger? Is this making Conan stronger? Is this gaining him anything?
It's an interesting thought. The character of Valeria is a noble character because she, as we find out later in the film, I won't say anything at this point, but she's a very selfless person. I'll just say that. So this helmet, Carl. What's going on with this helmet?
That's called a Bargain Helm. That's actually
it's a Schwangen again.
Yeah, that's a Schwangen because it's the riveted pieces in 4 pieces. It's all riveted together, and that actually looks a lot like a Gaulish style helmet from the Roman period, or even a later Saxon style helmet.
And this, Aldous, what he's saying there, the narrator, Mako.
There's another Schwangen helm.
Right. So now this is kind of where, again, that which doesn't kill us makes us stronger. The implication being, if you're not being threatened, you're growing weaker. And here we have him. He's at the extent of decadence.
Yeah.
He's passed out into a bowl of gruel.
Yeah.
If you look there when his face is in, there's little bubbles coming up from the side.
This is good though, because he got some good acting pointers from James Earl Jones, and this is where you see one of my favorite actors ever, Max von Sydow. What a fantastic!
We got to watch The Seventh Seal.
Yeah, definitely. And the dialogue's not brilliant he's been given here, but the way he delivers it is just perfect.
He's one of those actors, you hire Max von Sydow to give your movie a little bit of gravitas.
Right. Again, it's that which doesn't kill us makes us stronger. They just talked about Osric was a greatly feared Northman of great strength and power. And now look at him. He's rotting on a throne. He can't even control what his own daughter's doing. He's been weakened.
Yeah. And as well,
but there is a theme of fatherhood here. I'll let you go, Pete. I just want to mention there's a theme of fatherhood almost here with so the way the dialogue is interacted, which continues the theme that we started in the beginning.
Yeah, earlier as well, the narrator mentions Mako. The narrator says, riches can destroy you as surely as enemies can. And I think of that quote of prosperity is the destruction of a fool. So if you've got too much and you don't know, you haven't gained the wisdom to know what to do with it, it'll destroy you.
Oh, look at that! He's got a nice little breastplate underneath his beautiful robes there. I've never noticed the detail on his robes before. That's pretty good. It's obviously a lot of care put into the costuming. Is Arnold wearing a jacket made of ropes or something, or
It's like sort of looks like he's wearing a bunch of sausages, doesn't it?
or skeins
It's he's just drying out his
cured
chorizo.
meats.
Yeah, this is good. This is really good the way he delivers these lines. So he's talking about his daughter here,
yeah.
and again, like you were saying, Hooks earlier, the way his eyes. Look at the eyes of when he's given these lines.
Yeah.
And it's the whole film is thin on dialogue. Every actor does an exceptional job with face, with the eyes, with the music. Everything is complementary to the story. The story is being driven because the story is about that man right there. Another shot. We've got the three adventurers.
Yep.
And but it's driven by Conan. Conan's in the center of that shot. He is the story. He is moving. Yep. Everything's moving him forward.
Yes, and Milius, the director, as well, was really conscious of, he took 3 novice actors. All 3 of them were novice, so he was concerned about how they'd do, but there was various things that he did to ensure that they did well. So, for instance, Schwarzenegger actually stayed at Jerry Lopez's house for a month during filming just to build rapport, so that what you see on screen is real rapport, because the 2 people had spent a lot of time together, and also he was keen to get Max and James to instruct them, which they did. So the whole company was they created a rapport between all of the actors in the company.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
So we've got here there's a little bit of fracturing. What are we going to do? How are we going to deal with this? Do we run away? Do we face it? And Conan as he sits, he stares at the snakes. You can just it's become an obsession. He's out for vengeance.
Yeah.
Because again, the mentor figure in this is kind of split into 3 parts, but he's going after the person that killed his father. It's a vengeance tale.
Yeah, ultimately.
Well, and he can't be complete, or he can't begin, his own quest in his life, move on with his life until he completes this vengeance arc.
Yeah,
because
he's overcome slavery. He's overcome the gladiatorial pits. He's overcome poverty to a large degree with the theft of the stones, and but now he still hasn't done anything for himself in a way. He hasn't bettered himself by himself. He was bettered on the wheel by being put there by others. He was bettered in the pits by being put there by others. He had help stealing the stones, but he hasn't done anything on his own.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I read about the original books by Robert Howard was the idea of Conan being a powerful giant who lives by no rules but his own. So in that context, it's a bit like the classic superhero power fantasy trope, where people, because one of the big things that attracted the audience to this, it was well timed because Marvel had the comic book series out during the 70s. And that drove a lot of interest to the film. But he is a classic example of a superhero and a power fantasy because, watching his story, he's living out and doing things in the classic superhero way.
Yeah, just because he doesn't fly doesn't mean he doesn't have that whole he's more than any one of us could ever be, kind of thing. So it's definitely a power fantasy here. Now he's just gone off on his own because he knows he doesn't want to put everyone else in danger, and they don't necessarily want to deal with it anyways.
Yeah, so this is the section where we've got up to the point where Conan's decided to leave on his own because he doesn't want to get anybody else into his personal vendetta. This is his own sort of burden that he carries.
Well, and also there's a little bit of damseling here. The king's daughter. He needs to go rescue the king's daughter. The king's daughter went willingly, but she's under the trance of Doom's power. So we've got our damsel that we have to go rescue in the traditional story. But again, those travel shots, guys. I love it.
These scenes are absolutely amazing. And again, you've got the Mongol influence. He's dressed in Mongol armor. He's on horseback. You've got scenery there, which, you know, it's in Spain, but you could just as well be in the steppes. And the montage, the travel montage. So yeah, it's the influences are clear, but it's just so well done. And he's quite an accomplished horseman as well, isn't he?
Not too bad.
Yeah, he's not too bad. So here he's meeting the hippies of the cult of Tulsa Doom.
Yeah, speaking of hippies, I think this was a little thing by John Milius, because he was quite renowned for not being a hippie back in the 60s and 70s.
Yeah,
and
there's a huge soy beard there. Can you see that?
Right. I mean, this is the guy that directed Red Dawn, so that probably tells you what his politics are, right? So this is probably a good.
Yeah.
Well, and the guy that plays Thorgrim was actually in Red Dawn.
Yeah.
Or no, I'm sorry, it was Conan's dad. Conan's dad was in Red Dawn.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're getting to this area by the sea, the Marshes by the sea. This is filmed in Spain as well, where it's the mounds area, which is hinted to be an ancient site, which is also has all sorts of significances. And
it's like a center of magical power, kind of like a Stonehenge or somewhere like that.
So this is like we're going to meet the sort of Merlin character here, Meiko Iwamatsu, who was a famous Japanese actor. Amongst other things, he did the voice of Splinter on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. He was in
a lot of movies.
Yeah, he was in Highlander 3. He reprised his role Conan Destroyer. Now, there's a lot of Seven Samurai stuff coming into the movie in just in a minute, and this whole area. You can point that out later on, but
well, this is a unique storytelling manner too. Is that we're in the middle of the movie and we're now being introduced to the narrator.
Yeah.
You've had no face to put with the narration yet, but now you do. You know, it's how they did things in this. The way the script was written, it's very asymmetrical with how it handles things, but everything is done well because everything has its place, because everything is about driving Conan forward. There's no offshoots of story. There's no drifting threads. It's a very focused storyline.
And would you believe we're already halfway through the movie? We're already halfway through. So that just points to how good a movie it is. You know, it doesn't seem that long. But yet we're already halfway through, and that's really symbolic that we meet the narrator at the halfway point.
There's a sun motif there. There's something there, I think. I like it. So the Mako character is to me almost like a Yoda character would be. Yeah, he's kind of goofy and all that stuff, but it's kind of a role reversal where I don't necessarily see the wizard as say a teacher to Conan, more like a peer, or he calls Conan his master. So I mean,
right. Well, I think too, Carl, it's a good point. I hadn't thought about this before, but we're at the midpoint of the movie. We've been introduced to the narrator, and at that point, the sun sets.
Yes.
So from here on out, it's a new day. It is a different story now for Conan, right?
Yep.
He's now within grasp of his objective. Before this, it was everything else, but it was a minor storyline to get here. Now we're focused. We know where we're headed.
Yeah, he's got all the information he needs to attempt what he wants to do. But obviously, as we discover, the way he tries to do it, he still doesn't have everything he needs, because he's trying to do this on his own. And we have the the idea that in life, you need to understand that there's a strong thread of individualism in this film. It's one of the main themes of this film, the idea of individualism as opposed to indoctrination and collectivism.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
we're seeing collectivism here, indoctrination, cultic behavior, whereas and actually Schwarzenegger was a good friend of Ronald Reagan, but he represents individualism, non-conformism. But even then, the film sort of says, well, look, to achieve some things, you have to work together with other people to achieve certain things, not collectivism necessarily, but you have to know what your strengths are, and you have to know who you will need to make alliances in life.
Something I just noticed as he was writing up, every time he's encountering these, but when he's encountering large groups of people in civilization, he kind of has this sneer on his face, like the barbarians are pure and righteous, whereas civilization is corrupt and decadent.
Right, and
So
there's a great Howard quote that goes along with that barbarianism is the natural state of mankind, and that civilization is unnatural. So that's how Howard viewed things in these books as he's writing. There's just a natural state that man is an animal. And Howard was kind of an interesting fella too. I'm not sure if you guys I came in a little late in the intro, but there's a lot that we could just talk for hours just about Howard himself.
We're going to see this. I mean, we're going to see the main temple set up on the, pardon the pun, because I think it's a temple to set, isn't it? So I'm not sure. But on the side of the hill there, now and Conan's just meeting the priest character there.
As they're handing out new
Where are you going, brother? The producers had $11 million for the production in Spain. 3 million of that, I mean, in today's money, that's going to be a lot more, was spent on building 49 different sets. And I think this was the most elaborate of all of the sets. The temple with hundreds of steps outside of it, up here in the mountains.
Yeah. So the goal of the set people or the set cult is to reach emptiness. What do you take from that, Aldous?
I've
been thinking about it. I can't get anything out of it.
The only thing I can think of is that later on, I think we could probably elaborate better, but for right now, I think it's about giving back to the individual versus the collective. When you're part of a collective, you're empty, right? You're an NPC. You're rote. You're reciting everything rote. There's no thought. You act as one, and that's what they kind of show is they act as one, or they do whatever they do as a group.
So this is Conan doing a gay op right here, infiltrating the Hyborian age SJWs.
Yeah, he's got a new avatar. He's got a sock puppet account.
It's SJW Conan.
Yeah. He's changed his name. Yeah, exactly. That music as well, it's just great. I mean, it's unique, It's like, I mean, look at this. I mean, I'm getting a sort of I'm getting a bit of an anti-Christian vibe as well, by the way, because it's like a mass baptism, It's like they're saying, they're going down the river again, because they're all dressed in white. But go ahead.
One thing to consider about the imagery here. The imagery here. This was filmed during when Jonestown was going on in the early 80s. This is it. So there's a lot here that really harkens back to that. Jim Jones. This cult is very, very a cult personality built up behind Doom and his power, his perceived power.
Yeah, because I think they were keen to sort of show things which would be analogous to the time it was written in, because there was loads of weird cults in the 70s. And I mean, we've talked about the fact that he's actually based more on Kull, but yeah, I think he's deliberately portrayed like that. One of the other things that Milius said was that he was also based on the ancient orders of the Hashishim and the Thugi. The Thugi were an Indian tribe that the British Empire stamped out with the help of the local military, because they had plagued that area of India for hundreds of years. But who also feature in the second Indiana Jones movie, Temple of Doom. So there's some more connections there.
So here he got up to this point by showing the medallion. This time they took the medallion.
Yeah, so you know something's up.
And he's just getting it's kind of suggesting that he's just not thinking things through quite. What's his plan?
Yeah.
Right.
Up to this point, he's acted pretty much on instinct, and it's always worked out for him.
Yeah.
There's King Osric's daughter, looking lovely.
Again, with
and
snake
this
in
music,
both
this
hands.
seething sort of, in a way, Wagnerian like soundtrack, which is like dreamy and sort of hypnotic, you know, because they're all under this hypnosis.
It's kind of like I don't know, is it a little like the Solomon Ash thing, where you know it's like you get the crowd control, the mob.
Yeah. Now we get an idea of how old he is. I mean, and he's based upon Cole, who you said was a character from a different book.
Well, he's just named after that. The character in this is actually most similar to Thoth-Amon. He is. Right. It is Thoth-Amon. They just used Thulsa Doom for some reason.
Right.
But I mean, both. I think it's Cobb and Milius. Neither one of them were really familiar with Conan at all. And so that's kind of why I think you get a little bit of this mix-up too. Is I think they just grabbed a bunch of stuff and started throwing it together.
So here Conan's being captured. He sort of stuck out like a sore thumb, really. Right. He's like the only high tea man dressed in white amongst a crowd of soy. So it's like
look at James Earl Jones's performance in this movie. He steals every scene he's in with just his presence.
Well, and again, it's watch those eyes, the eyes of all the main characters, and it's just it's terrible to say after watching Dragon Slayer and Crawl, this is such a treat because it's done so well.
yeah, it is. It wasn't actually a blockbuster, mind. It made a lot of money, but it didn't quite get to the level of it being able to be classified as a blockbuster.
Rexar looks like Lemmy in that outfit right there.
This is great, this scene. I mean, the idea as well of giving James Earl Jones some, I think it's blue contact lenses, which makes him look like he's from a different race, like an ancient sort of, like you were saying yourself, Atlantean. So he's got like a completely different background to everybody else.
This is where he's going to give his definition of the Riddle of Steel.
Yeah.
So if you remember the father was saying that steel was the only thing you could trust because people are fickle, people have their own agendas, but you can trust steel. So now,
this is also this kind of harkens back to kind of the hero's covenant. Is Conan broke into somebody's house and did steal, and so that he took from another that which was not his, and so he does have to have some punishment here because he violated the covenant of being the hero.
And here we go. This is where Tulsa Doom remembers the whole thing and mocks the Riddle of Steel.
I like how he says it must have been when I was younger, and it couldn't have only been like 15, 20 years, somewhere in that range. He's thousands of years old. This would have been like what happened last week Tuesday at breakfast.
Right. Or maybe it suggests that he exists in multiple timelines at once.
That's an interesting thought.
Yeah.
Yeah, look at that.
That
Look at
smile right there is just
My
so.
Oh, and that look on his face afterwards,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
There he is, Riddle of Steel. Flesh is stronger.
Yeah,
Flesh is stronger.
yeah.
Come to me, child.
He has such a presence as well. There we go. So somebody's just this, and this again goes to the Jim Jones thing, being able to convince people to just kill themselves. But he's such a charismatic actor, isn't he? He's one of the greatest actors ever. Really.
Without his performance in this movie just becomes another.
It wouldn't have worked. Yeah.
Well, and that I think part of it too is that black mane of straight hair that just kind of shakes every time he gets mad. That the hair like accentuates his motion. It's just.
And here we go. The tree of woe.
He said let's talk about Hux when he was like, I gave you this, all these things, that his strength, his determination, his need, his will to survive, all that. I gave you this. That's part of him being a mentor figure to him in a twisted, backwards way.
Right.
So
this is again. This point, it's real small. It's very subtle, but again, it's the theme of three. There's three primary branches in the Tree of Woe.
Mm-hmm.
So what about this? What about this scene? I mean, it's not meant to be like a religious crucifixion. I can't say the word. But what does this mean in the hero's journey? This section now.
Well, he's suffering his penance for his thievery. He violated the covenant. He's being punished, and also he has to, again, that which does not kill us makes us stronger. Mm-hmm. So it's a continuation of that theme. That up to this point, he has been everything has been focused on his desire for revenge.
Special effects point about the bird.
This is how they get away from any criticism of being a religious crucifixion.
No, I don't think so. Here, I love this bit. Classic Schwarzenegger. I will bite you, bird. I will bite you. I will rip your throat out.
Well, that's what I meant because they threw this bit in here. It's pretty friggin' funny. They can get it.
That was a robotic bird made out of real vulture bits, apparently.
So yeah,
sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, going back, like we've Doom at this point, I'm with Carl completely. He is the third mentor. You have a combination of, obviously you have the father, and then you have the Eastern King, the red-haired slave master, and King Ulrich that kind of merged together to form like a second mentor. Uh-huh. And then now you have introduced Doom, and Doom is the third mentor, because this is kind of like it's kind of an inversion of the concept. Instead of the mentor being killed before his eyes, the hero is actually being tormented and killed before his own eyes.
Yeah. And again,
it's hearkening back to that Conan still knows fear, because he's afraid. He has a little bit of fear here on the tree.
So one thing we missed while you were talking, I didn't want to interrupt you, is now the sun was rising as before it was setting. There was a shot of that big sun.
Yeah, I didn't.
Right. So that, yeah.
I didn't catch that earlier. I like that it's the setting and the rising.
And again,
story.
Before you even see Subutai, you hear a change in the music. So the music's cueing you all the time. And it's the timing of the music's perfect. And, you know, it's telling you what's happening, the mood of the film. So I just think everything's just hitting exactly where it needs to hit, you know?
You know, that's one of the things I don't like about Conan the Destroyer, is that Subutai is not in it, because I think Jerry Garcia, for having never really been an actor, does a great job in his role. And I buy the chemistry they have with each other. I buy the fact that they're brothers in arms.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
So here we have I'm seeing all sorts of different symbols on the medallions that Meiko's character's wearing as well. But we have Valeria saying she's prepared to pay the price, and she doesn't recognize what that means yet. This scene where all of these symbols are being painted on to Conan actually comes from a Japanese film where they did a similar thing.
There's some Viking runes on there, and there's some alchemical symbols on there as well. So that's interesting. I never noticed the actual symbols that are on there. A lot of
Yeah,
alcohol on there.
Yeah. So this is the. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say the other nice thing is throughout this whole sequence, I really have to compliment Sandahl Bergman. She really delivers a performance through her that makes you buy the fact that she loves Conan. That that's a definite attachment, and she it's some really good acting for somebody that really doesn't get enough credit in this film.
Well, this is it. I mean, the three young characters were all novice actors. And you think about that, and then you think about Star Wars, the new Star Wars films, and how they're not necessarily novice actors, but what a bad job they did.
Isn't her background
compared to this
or something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, she was a dancer. She was in All That Jazz with I think was it Roy Scheider?
Yeah.
Yes, I knew she's a dance. That's where her acting came from because she had a dancing background and got into acting that way.
So
this is some more industrial lights and magic.
Yeah. So Conan's been painted with all sorts of symbols to ward off evil spirits, and we're going to start seeing something now on screen, which is pretty well done. It stands up even now. It's really good. And to me, this again is like, it reminds me of Japanese films and Chinese films that have supernatural elements in them, like about vampires and ghosts and things like that. It's the same sort of special effects you would see in those kind of films. So all this, what's going on here with these special effects for these spirits that have started turning up?
Yeah, this is kind of the same kind of thing we saw in like Raiders of the Lost Ark. It's basically the same technology. It's just some animation that they overlay on stuff, and it's some really cool stuff. I couldn't find much in how they managed to get Conan's body to raise up, so I was kind of too focused on my other aspects. But again, the series of three, you had the three of them sitting around the fire.
Yeah, the
wizard leaves, and then both of their friends go out with Conan. The three. It's always the three.
Yeah. I mean, even now, that is fairly freaky. Like that is.
It's
really effective. It's scary.
The lighting here with kind of a red-orange filter really comes across very well, and you get the way the animation actually, like, it looks like they're actually crawling over Bergman's back.
Yeah, the wizard's just crying and cowering in his hut.
Well, and that's kind of important, right? Because when Conan first showed up, the wizard was strong and tough, and he was saying, I'll take anybody on. I'll call demons. Except for now, demons are actually here. And he has retreated to his tower. He is, and that's why I think Carl's right. Is the wizard is not a mentor at all. He's just a companion. Because he retreats in fear. A true mentor would stand out there, and he'd do it by himself.
Yeah, and I think that cleverly, this film actually sort of destroys some of the well-known tropes. So, for instance, it takes the sage character and makes him look like that, but not in a sort of like, subvert your expectations kind of way, but in
it's a very natural human reaction in a way.
Yeah, and likewise, the Riddle of Steel, we learn more about that. So people are shown to be heroic, but very much flawed at the same time, which is the real hero. A real hero is flawed. There's
no Mary Sue's in this movie, and they avoided that very well. Sandahl Bergman, she never looked better, man. She looks great in this film.
Yeah.
Well, here we have again, that which does not kill you makes you stronger. Conan has now conquered death and the tree of woe.
Yeah. And then we go.
I was going to say too, the wizard is kind of in my notes I had here. He kind of reminded me of like the myth of Hochi, the earless Japanese wizard.
Yes,
it's kind of, you get that sense that there's more to him, but it doesn't really matter what his story is. But you get the sense that there's depth of character there. It isn't really spoken. It's just the way the lines are delivered.
And this is the heroic scene where Conan's finally reached the zenith of understanding the swordsmanship, and you saw him there looking at his hand. He does that twice. He looks at his hand, then practices sword play. Then he looks at his hand again. So this is the hero full born. And he looks at his hand, which is a mirror of, remember when his mother got beheaded and he looked at his empty hand. But also looking at the hand was the same thing that Tulsa Doom did as well when he looked at his hand. And the idea of the strength of the warriors in the hand, not in the steel.
Right. So it's the same. This is the same as it's what Ygir dying in Krull. It's the same as Merlin dying. It's the same as the wizard dying in Dragon Slayer to a degree. It's now we are at the he is reborn the hero.
Yes.
Only instead of the mentor character dying, he actually had to die.
Yes.
So again, it's how this movie breaks that hero's journey, but it does it in very intelligent ways. And again, everything drives the story forward. Yeah.
I mean, you had some pretty heavy-hitting writers involved in this. People like Oliver Stone, for instance. So, you had some really good writers involved in this.
Absolutely. Just think of the dichotomy of John Milius and Oliver Stone. You couldn't think of two polar opposite people.
Yeah. So now the heroes are discussing the next move. So unlike before, Conan has realized that the hero is best when accompanied by the other archetypes. And so now he sets off.
Yep, and this is a real minor point here, but it's something that doesn't happen in bad films, and it's something that doesn't happen in bad stories. You'll notice as Valeria, whose name is never mentioned in this movie, and Subutai right away, they've got an empty horse so that when they get the princess, she can come back with them on horseback.
So thinking ahead.
Yeah.
So it's just little tiny things like that good storytellers, good filmmakers put in.
Yes.
So that there is no question of, well, where did that horse come from?
Well, I've got a question. This scene coming up, what's going on here? Because you've got this landscape where there's just fires there. I mean, I can't see any people because this is where they burn the wood to make charcoal to camouflage themselves and everything. But I'm just wondering where the fires are coming from. I don't know. But this is where they camouflage themselves. Is there a theme of duality here? Because you got the black and white.
Maybe, I mean, they're heroes and they're thieves.
Yeah.
So they're going... I don't know how much of that it is. I think it's just cool war paint. But
you can afford them no benefits inside.
But as they enter here, you see that they're going into like a room where there's like flames and furnaces and they're cooking. That's what I took. It's not the fire, it's the glow, and these little caverns are all over back behind this mountain.
Yeah, and the first few times I watched it, I didn't catch it. There was cannibalism going on.
Yes, that's heavily implied. That's the bodies hanging on the walls.
Yeah,
so the hands.
Yeah, it's so at the end of this, the end goal of this whole cult is basically a food supply.
Right.
They're evil cannibal sorcerers.
Yeah.
So they're building up this mythology around their snake god when this is what it really is all about.
So instead of being some sort of higher form of culture or understanding, they're actually the most debased form ever. And you see later on, you see your hand as in the cauldron as they're ladling it. Now I seem to remember there was something about Genghis Khan or Kublai Khan or something. One of the things they used to do when they captured prisoners was if they wanted to chop off an arm or a hand or something, they'd chuck it in a cauldron. So just to get rid of it, I don't know. I saw that on a drama or something about Kublai Khan. So that might be where they're getting it from. But yeah, it's a cannibal cult, and we're about to see.
I wonder if that's the source of Thulsa Doom's longevity, because there's some.
The myth of cannibalism or blood drinking is an extension of life.
Yeah.
When again, too, it shows the Crom and the Four Winds they're not cannibals. They don't confuse you. They don't require duplicity to get you as a follower, but Set does. Set is dark. And not only that, Set will consume you.
So this whole scene and this music is absolutely amazing. And again, what they're doing is they're playing with the idea of good and evil, because you've got this beautiful music which is meant to seduce you, but at the same time, what you're looking at is
debauchery.
appalling. It's like the last days of Gomorrah, you know.
So not only are they cannibals, but they're sexual deviants, and there's
all sorts of things going on. But I mean, as well, going to the Mongol theme, you know, Xanadu was like this. You know, you had harems and all sorts of things going on. But yeah, they're. And this is where you see the hand.
That's the snow leopard. That's an actual drugged snow leopard that they had on set. They tranquilized a real cat and put it on set. So like throughout all this filming, there's an actual drugged snow leopard. So I mean, it just shows you they kind of went a little overboard.
Bite of the finger there. Lovely, just a nibble.
It's a wonderful green color too.
Yeah, it's horrible.
Almost like sea cow booby milk.
Yeah.
Oh, is there? Man, could we go down that road? Is that what Luke did? Luke become a Set worshiper?
This is you're gonna see a really sort of interesting special effect in a minute, aren't you, Hooks?
Yeah, this is pretty cool.
Look at the look in his eyes.
So they do some cool scenes here. You'll see his eyes slowly change, and then boom. And the cutting is a little rough. That's the complaint I have. That's the first thing I'm going to say. That cutting was terrible because it went from his head in one position in the frame to another position with a different context. But so this is he's changing into a snake, and it's just it's like a latex mask of James Earl Jones's face, and they're pushing like a plaster snake head through it as it stretches and folds and molds. And then everything else after this is just lap shots and dissolve shots as they transition from the stretching to an actual snake.
I think there was a guy, I might be wrong on this particular scene, but there was a guy involved in the special effects on this movie who had also worked on Dragon Slayer. So again, a link back to the film we watched 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, that's Nick Aldler, who was the Oscar for Alien, and he also worked on Dragon Slayer. And so really cool special effect though. And the snake again looks really good, just like it did earlier. As it moves, you get a sense that it's alive.
Yeah, this whole set was made inside a gigantic warehouse south of Madrid. And Tulsa's now transformed into a huge snake, and off he goes.
Valeria moves with that dancer's grace. Look at that.
That's another thing, isn't it? Yeah, absolutely. Because she's not just actually quite good at acting, but how clever was it to pick somebody who's a dancer, who has that sort of like panache, that style.
Well, it's very fluid.
Yeah.
So that's another little mistake right there. Her feet hit the chain. That probably should have been refilmed. No trained thief would let their feet hit a chain that was hanging like that. Let alone the sound of the chain doesn't seem to bother anybody.
No, of course there's well, they're all high on hand broth, aren't they?
They got the hand broth and the place is on fire. They don't even notice yet. So
yeah. And is the gimp getting it there?
The gimp. Oh, right to the bottom of the throat. Oh, or the chin.
Yeah. You seen that was done well, yeah.
What kind of a blade is that, Carl? Is that like a falchion that she's got?
It's a lot like a falchion blade. Yeah. It's also like a tulwar blade. I'd put it close to a falchion. That'd be 12 to 1400s or so. And Subutai kind of has an Eastern style looking blade. You can't really place it because it's It's all fantasy, but
right.
You see the kind of the delayed effects, the delayed blood effects.
Yeah. This whole sequence is some great action though, with all the combat that goes on, and I love this here as the princess doesn't want to go because she's fully under. We're just gonna hit her in the face with the bowl.
Yeah.
Yeah, and in retrospect, that's not really a falchion blade on her sword. It's
Here
more
we go.
of a style.
Yes. And here comes again. This is wonderful. The Anvil of Crom. This music.
Oh yeah, this is it right here.
The best music ever. There's the hand broth being turned out there.
There's a head in there. It looks like.
Yeah.
And this, I love the bowl falling too, because you get a sense that it has some weight.
I like the sound it makes. That's what does it. The sound on that.
I love that. Come and get me if you think you're hard enough.
Right. Rexar's act bullshit.
This is this sort of set the standard for, boss fights, didn't it? Boss fights.
I mean, when RBC sees over, this is the song you got to play as you're conceiving your child.
Well, earlier tonight, before the show started, Canala sent me a tweet. What was it? He said, but can a normal human being withstand that much testosterone?
I love this too. Rexar gets hit in the head with Thorgrim's the rocks that fall from Thorgrim's hammer.
And the look he has on his face afterwards. This is good.
Right. Yeah, it's a good comedic moment. They're very few in this, but when they are, they're well done and well placed. Like the man doesn't know his own strength.
I love this look he has. He looks at the hammer. To your point about the Canales thing, I was going to reply, but I thought better of it. I was going to reply kind of like a testosterone overload.
Oh,
yeah. You see, again, all the moves that Valeria has, it just comes across so well. A fighting style.
Now, if you watch this, I think this is where she encounters those two guards or whatever, and she switches her stance a couple times.
Yeah.
Watch, as they switch their guards, she switches hers. That's what I was talking about earlier.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh.
This is just a good sequences all throughout here. You're right; those axes are a little little ridiculous.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I noticed a little glint of a gem again there.
Mm-hmm.
The ruby that she's got around her neck. There we go.
And that's the eye of the serpent, of course, that they stole earlier.
Yeah.
See,
they're real subtle throughout the movie. There's a couple of them, and it's just it's a real simple effect that just kind of adds a little nice little throwback to we got it still. Mm-hmm. Rexar's not doing too well after getting hit in the head with a giant rock.
Yeah.
He's doing better than I would be. Let me tell you that. Now they're all.
So again, we have the shot of the three, Rexar, Thorgrim, and Doom.
Mm.
Right.
No, that's a good line there.
Now they'll know why they're afraid of the dark, yeah.
Mm.
And this is a good example of a shot filmed that's supposed to be like a Twilight film shot, maybe early dawn that's filmed with a filter. They're just filming it, and they've got a filter over the camera to give it a little bit of a shadowed effect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and this is quite a good scene where he takes a snake and basically makes it into an arrow. I often thought it's an interesting idea, but where are the Fletchers to actually shoot that arrow?
Well, it's magic, right? It's a magic arrow out of a snake. He's Atlantean man.
Okay.
Ancient Atlantean snake fletching.
Yeah.
This is the noise this thing makes when he shoots it too. It's terrifying.
There we are. So Valeria pays the price that she knew she'd have to pay.
Yeah, she kind of realized that when he was laying there dying. She kind of looked up on her face like, if I have to die for you to live, that's something I'm willing to do.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's in a bad spot, right in the kidney.
Yeah.
That's a bad one.
There we go. So now she's realized. And
so here's the hero's loss, right? He's accomplished a great victory, but now he's losing a follower. Oh, look how far it was in, too. Yikes.
that's well done. I mean,
God, that's like 14 inches.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
This is really good as well. I mean, she's dying, so in her dying moment, she just wants to make the most of the last few seconds,
So it's very touching death, handled with perhaps not the greatest acting in the world, but still done well.
Kind of an odd request, though. Let me breathe my last breath into your mouth.
Yes. So she basically gives of herself as a character.
Well, that's.
Sorry, go
we
ahead.
can talk more about it later, but there is an argument of, okay, she's going to breathe her last breath into his mouth. So is she giving him part of her last life?
Yeah.
That he could maybe call on later if he needed it? Metaphorically or non-metaphorically. But then that look right there too. Like
right,
he was okay with, doom can wait another day.
Yeah.
We're just going to rescue the princess. And that look as he turns back and looks over his shoulder is, it's not over now. I mean, I'm coming back.
Yeah, she's like the perfect archetype of the good character who's not just an ally, but also she's falls in love with him, and but also on her own terms. She decides to fall in love with him and depicted as an equal in her abilities, and her sacrifice is for a reason. There's a reason behind it. So there's a heroic message in that. This is Subutai going up to hand the flame to Conan so that they can cremate her body. Now with Subutai again, he displays heroic nature as well, because he's like the loyal friend as well, and he's crying here, and the words are, why are you crying? And he says, well, he's a Sumerian, he won't cry, so I cry for him.
Right, yeah.
So it's about loyalty, brotherly love, hero's code, honor.
Well, and it's also, I always thought too, there's a lot of respect there for Valeria, because she deserves someone to mourn, and since Conan can't mourn, he will mourn for both of them.
Yeah,
exactly.
Because they were all friends. They were a tight traveling group. They were the triple, and now earlier right there you saw the scene. It was the three of them. So now we've reframed the heroes party. We have three. Then he takes off the wheel. That's key too. We've taken off the emblematic of the wheel. We've moved past pain. Yeah. We are done with pain.
Yes, that's a good point. Yeah, and he's sort of let go of the past, because I think that also represented everything from when he was a boy as well. So, that's me.
So yeah, we're at the full wraparound here of the hero. The hero is now fulfilled completely, and all he seeks now is revenge.
Yeah, and here we have the princess, who is now bait for Tulsa Doom.
How much does he want to get her back? And even at this point, she's still under his spell.
That actress, very quickly, who plays the Osric's daughter, Valerie Quinison, French actress, I believe. She was in a lot of French cinema. She actually died tragically in a car accident. So she only lived a few years after this film. So, whereas all the other actors, some of which are still alive today, Max von Sydow was like 89 now. But here's a conversation between Conan and Subutai.
They're preparing the ground for their battle upcoming.
This is where the sort of Seven Samurai influence comes in, I think, because
absolutely,
they're defending this area against this horde that's going to come along, and also the wizard Mako is going to come along, drowning in armor with a pole across his arms, carrying more armor. Now that's directly taken from the film The Seven Samurai, where the farmers, or I'm not sure it's the farmers or it's the character played by Toshiro Mifune, finds all of the armor and weapons. So there's certain bits which are lifted directly from Seven Samurai here.
Right. Well, and earlier too, when the demons came for Conan, the wizard ran and stayed in his hut, and now it shows that they're back. That now he has taken Valeria's place in the party. They're back to 3. He's willing to fight because he's helping him. He's not hiding in his hut.
Yeah. Right.
So you see a little bit of, again, subtle things, small character growth that's shown in just real simple shots and sequences.
And there's a Bargain Helm. That's an interesting trap there. A nicely sharpened spike. That kind of trap was used in another Schwarzenegger film later on, wasn't it? I'm thinking of Predator. So here comes the wizard. Now this is taken straight from Seven Samurai.
And just listen to the music in the background here too. This is great.
So talking about the composer, Basil Polidoris, did some other really interesting work. He did, apart from this, he also did Conan the Destroyer, which came out 2 years later. Red Dawn. He did RoboCop. He did Hunt for Red October, and he did Starship Troopers. So a lot of different stuff.
This is probably his best work.
Yeah,
and look at all these guys. You can see all different kinds of influences in the armor that they're wearing, from different regions. So it's kind of emblematic that Tulsa Doom's kind of built up a multinational syndicate that is his cult.
So here, is this like similar to the scene we see at the start of the film?
Yep. Yeah. Very, very harkens back. Only a little more. It's more arid. It's not as not in the forest. It's rocks and dirt.
Here's the climax of this. Here we go.
Perfect music as well for the scene.
This is too. It's a pretty good. It's not. I shouldn't say it's pretty good. It's not bad for how infantry can fight men on horseback. They're using elevated positions to eliminate the height advantage, and they're using long spears to dismount them.
Right. That's how you do it. And they're using the terrain to their advantage to deal with the numbers.
And this is the thing I always remembered from seeing this film as well, when he's praying to Crom, and it's just like it's like asking to give him his revenge and success in battle. And at the end of it, he just says, "If you won't do it, then just screw you."
Yeah. Yep, taking out the horse's legs right there.
Yeah, that's kind of an echo for a little foreshadowing for what's going to happen here in a little bit too. But this sequence where they're working together too is well done, where one's being lured in as bait so the other can disarm the rider. Just
look at Doom with that cape flowing behind him, man. That's
bang. there you go.
That's as iconic in many ways as Darth Vader is. Maybe not as so much, but
Yeah,
it's up there.
These oversized weapons. I think some of them were made of aluminium because there's no way. I mean, Schwarzenegger could have lifted it, but he couldn't have just sort of wielded it quickly. So these,
Well, I thought I read somewhere that a lot of them that you see were like carbon fiber.
right.
They had different versions. They had the big full-on steel one for like the main shots, and then for fighting they had a bunch of ones that were made of carbon fiber, and they had ones that were made of aluminum as well for different purposes.
This is just the best fight scene, isn't it? Really, it's just awesome.
Right on
I think you might just be a little bit behind me, Pete, because Conan just got hit by Thorgrim's hammer in the shoulder. And now Rexar's riding right towards him, and he does this great move. He screams and drops to his knees and takes the horse's legs out.
Oh yeah, I've
Just
got that.
this.
Yeah. Yeah, you're a little bit ahead of me. Yeah, I'll fast forward a bit, and I just got the bit where you just get whacked in the face with a warhammer.
Yep. Yeah. We're.
I've just caught
close.
up with you. Yeah. Classic Schwarzenegger with his eyes wide open. I will kill you.
And here we see the wizard taking his part in the battle, taking his first kill.
But now that scene where Subutai gets hit in the leg, it's like the guy's on horseback, Subutai's on his chest, and he goes for his thigh and not his back. It's like
Subutai's using a Falky in there, I think. Isn't it? Or it's actually smaller than that.
Here's Thorgrim with his gigantic, unwieldy hammer.
Yeah. The bit where the wizard can't get back up again, he's like a turtle or something.
Yeah.
So again, you've got comedy worked into it,
There goes the trap.
Yep.
This armor that is it Rexor here?
Yeah,
That's Thorgrim.
Thorgrim, and this is classic D&D armor, isn't it? With the
D&D armor.
helmet and that. Bang!
It is
Brilliant.
Well, this is now we've the three Thorgrim, Rexar, and Doom were kind of the three opposing them. The three heroes and the three villains, three leaders. And this sequence with Rexar is a pretty good fight, pretty brutal.
So have you got the bit where he's now impaled?
Yes.
Yeah.
We're a little bit past that.
That's really good, that bit, because he doesn't see. There we go. He's a big fella, isn't he?
Oh yeah.
He was so he was a professional footballer. Big lad. Bang.
There they go.
So
the
there
father's
she turns
sword.
up Valeria.
Yeah, but then Valeria reappears in their shimmering, almost Valkyrie-esque appearance.
Yep.
And with that same return line. And then we have the broken sword of his father.
Yep.
And that great shot of him hitting him in the shoulder is just...
Oh, that was brutal.
Yeah.
So with all of his generals or lieutenants dead, he's now going to eliminate the princess himself.
Yeah.
So now this is where she becomes disillusioned with the cult.
So picking up the broken blade.
I love the wizard's reaction here too, with the arrow with the snake in it. He yuck, throws it aside.
So what's Conan thinking when he picks up the broken blade of his father? That he broke it.
Well, I think that's I think it's another vestige of the past resolving itself.
Right, exactly.
And it also I think is a little little foreboding of what Doom's going to talk to him about before the climax here.
Here it is, yeah.
And what Doom had already talked about with flesh and steel, and flesh is more powerful than steel.
Yeah. Here we see this huge crowd before Doom. And
good fade out too from Conan with the blades raised to Doom preaching to the masses, flame in his hand,
which has some really dark connotations to it as well. But Conan's learned how to be wise here. He goes in there under darkness rather than just trying to charge right through the middle.
Right, and I think it's if you look at the previous two thieving entries into the tower or the temple here, it's he's now maintained the apex. And he's only wielding the broken sword of his father.
Yeah, and deliberately as well.
Yes, this is also symbolic of the revenge right here, where he's just using that blade. Yeah, you're right. You're right about that.
It makes you wonder as well when Tulsa Doom says merging is nearly at hand. What was about to happen that Conan stops?
Right.
That's a good point. I didn't think about that before.
What was the purpose of amassing all of these people? What was going to happen next?
They should all be cleansed. So that sounds like he's going to send them out to do what they've been doing.
Kill the parents. Take down the leaders. The gleam in the eye of Set. The flame's going to burn away the darkness. So they're an extension of the flame. They're going to go burn the darkness and open the light up to the world, the light of Set.
Yeah, so he wants to bring destruction on everything.
At least take down the power structure so he can take over.
Yeah. Which is the idea of chaos and then order from chaos trope. And that look on Schwarzenegger's face there where he sneaks up behind him, but just like determination. But once again, Tulsa tries to use charm, tries to appeal to him.
He's also talking about fatherhood, right? Here's what Karl was talking about: is who gave you the will to live? I'm the wellspring from which you flow. He is Doom is in a twisted way he fulfills everything that's left of the mentor character here. He's talking about fatherhood, which brings fatherhood fully back around. He's the one that killed the father. He's still trying to reach out. And he did. It was through vengeance and through his desire for vengeance that Conan's come this far and become a hero. And then there's this beautiful moment.
Conan's tempted. But he snaps out of it.
Yeah. Forgive the obvious Darth Vader parallel there.
Oh, that's true.
So he looks down a moment. This is what I want you to explain to me. He looks down a moment, and then he looks at the broken blade of his father, and then that second he decides to do what he does. What's he thinking?
I took it as it's because Doom says my son, right? And if he's swayed up to that point, when he says my son, he looks down and sees the blade, then looks up and then kills him because he's not Doom's son. He's a Chimerian. He's his father's son, his mother's son. He came here to venge. He's there to kill Doom because Doom killed them. So
he snaps out of it, looking at the sword, and the broken blade snaps him out of it.
Yeah, that's how I took it, as it's an extension of his father. And now Doom is dead. He is decapitated, just as Doom decapitated his mother. Conan has decapitated Doom. We have full circle. The hero's journey is complete. He has fulfilled his obligation to both his people and his family.
Yeah. And then the silence as the head just topples down the stairs. And he throws the blade away. And that's it.
And then the mass disillusionment of the previously hypnotized or...
He is literally cut the head off the serpent.
The snake, right? And then you have it takes a moment, and then it's one, and then another, and that's again, this is kind of the Solomon Ash, right? It's like one person does it, and then they all start doing it. It's not that they all like you don't have more than one person. It always takes one person to start something, and then the mob follows behind.
Yeah, and to even further illustrate your point, they're all throwing it in the pool. They could drop those torches anywhere on the ground and it won't burn anything. But they all walk up to that pool just to put it in, just like the lemmings that they are.
Right, and I think there's something to that. I think it's showing that they're just going to move on to the next collectivist thing, right? These are not individuals that are thinking and are out there doing. They're just going to float into the next, whatever the next movement is where they're going to go. That's the dichotomy between what Conan represents and what they represent and what Doom wants to control them. Conan despises them, and they just will follow. And again, you got the set of three.
Yeah.
And so now he's contemplating what's next. Now that he's completed his life's mission, what does he do? Yeah,
he is now, the circle is complete. He's finished his task, but in finishing his task, he's destroyed all of this. And essentially, he's now going to go back to wandering again.
Right, and that's the beautiful part, again, the hero's story being broken. He doesn't get the girl. He doesn't get the kingdom. He doesn't get anything other than his vengeance. And then he just moves on. He has nothing more now than he did in the beginning as far as possessions go.
And originally, the sequence that you'll see at the end, which is him sitting on a throne as an old man, that was filmed. That was the first thing they filmed in the whole production, and that was meant for the trailer for the film. But they ended up putting that into the ending sequence. This is great. The bit where he swings this censer or
right.
Yeah.
Well,
the cool part too is this temple. They actually built this on the side of a mountain in Spain.
Yeah,
and it was made out of wood. They had to put huge concrete fittings down so that it could support all the people that were actually going to stand on it. And they actually burned it. So when you see it burning, they actually burned it down.
Yeah. I mean, there was 1,500 extras brought in for that scene, plus I think others as well. So it was it was a huge production.
Right, and I love it that the last scene you get is the Doom Temple burning. Set is being consumed by fire. Return to the ashes.
Yeah.
And then we have the little epilogue there.
That shot of Conan on the throne is very Odin-esque, with the spear and everything.
But how frail the idea of power is, that if the right person comes along or the right people come along, any ambition can be just wiped out.
Right. And then we close with that great song, the Riddle of Steel. Oh no, Anvil of Crom. Anvil of Crom.
Because I've got a bit where the princess is worshipping Conan, but he just doesn't even acknowledge it. He's just walking past, and then he puts his hand out to her, which is a call back to him and his mother. So he's reaching his hand out to her to say, look, don't follow me. You are my equal, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And this bit here where both of them are looking back at the fire and leaving reminds me of Lot leaving Gomorrah.
Oh, yes.
Especially in that scene there where he's walking through the desert away from the burning temple.
So, Conan the Barbarian, a successful film. Why?
Indeed.
But why? What is it about it? Is it the score? Is it the dialogue? Is it how everything comes together? Because you said, I mean, think about this. This is 3 novice actors, some excellent supporting cast, minimalistic dialogue.
Yeah.
An amazing score and very few special effects.
Yes.
Contrasted to Dragon Slayer, which had massive special effects, a young cast, and a good score. Contrasted to Crawl, which had an excellent score, lots of special effects, and a young cast. I mean, the last three films have been very similar, but why does this one work so well? And I just keep coming back to it's the script, it's the way things are written, it's the way that this movie's shot and edited. Everything is perfect. Everything complements each other, and it's just a fun movie.
Yeah. The pace.
Yeah, there are points. Like any movie, it has its corny points.
Yeah.
Points that are a little silly, but beyond that, I mean, this is top tier.
Yeah.
From production on down.
Yeah. In my opinion, it's the control without it being too controlled. The pace is constant. Like that music, the Anvil of Crom, I think is for me symbolic of the whole film. It's it represents the fact that it's constantly driven, and it constantly moves forward. There's never any moment where it loses its way.
Right.
Absolutely. Is the backbone of the film, and some fantastic performances. I mean, James Earl Jones's performance is perfect. Max von Sydow, brilliant. And what Milius did with those young actors to make them get to know each other, so they would work well together. Every choice was really well thought out and made. They just knew exactly what they were doing to make it work.
Yeah, I think this was a treat, especially after the last 2 weeks. It's and really we did not intentionally frame it this way, but
Yeah.
It's really great how we can harken back to things that didn't work in Dragon Slayer and didn't work in Crawl, and Conan the Barbarian shows you how they can work when you do them right, and the benefit they have to story, the benefit they have to the theme of the movie, and how they just benefit good cinema. So it was really fun. This one was I've been hoping we get to this one for a while. So I'm glad we did.
Yeah, it is the embodiment of toxic masculinity to Conan the Barbarian. Fuck yeah.
It is.
Good time.
Well, that was our week 4 Movie Watch Live. Thank you for everybody who was watching and tuned in, everybody in the chat. Thank you, Johnny Five. Thank you, 3D Robin. We really appreciate you watching this with us. And so, obviously, I'll leave this video up for anybody who wants to listen to this recorded later on. And what we tend to do is also chop these videos down into smaller parts. But we're going to decide what we watch next week, as always, with a poll. So if you check it out on Twitter, and my Twitter account is Pete McTubes. So if you want to check that out, and we'll put some choices up there for next week. But a thoroughly enjoyable film this week. And again, thanks to my 2 guests, as always, Karl Hungus and Aldous Huxley, for joining me tonight. And tune in again next week for another Movie Watch Live, yet to be decided. So that's it for now. Thank you for watching.